Alright, folks. So here's the chapter 3 of the section 2 of Gathering Soldiers Part 1, and its title is Intense Changes Underway. So this chapter will be divided into 3 parts, and there will be 3 separate videos of it. Okay, here we go. Okay, here goes the last one, Alexio said after putting down the last sec on the catapult's cup. Placidus and Constance flung it, sending it far into the fields. Placidus wiped off the sweat on his forehead. Phew! Our tasks are finally over. Oh, really? Upon hearing Commander Lapido's voice, Placidus flinched and turned around. Commander, it's you. Of course, it's me. And I suppose that Alexios had told you about you guys' upcoming meeting with me on the ship, right? Commander Lapido said. Placidus started trembling. Oh, God. Commander Lapido smiled. Don't worry, it's nothing serious, so come. Soon, the 4 engineers followed Commander Lapidos into the stern castle. There was a round table in the middle, and Commander Lapido sat on one of the chairs. The 4 engineers sat around at other chairs. Commander Lapidos cleared his throat. It has come to our attention that you guys seem very hesitant these days in doing your work. What's going on? Nobody spoke, so Commander Lapidos decided to continue. Hey, Alexios, you're the team's leader, so what do you think? Why are certain tasks being finished fast, but others are left alone for months? Alexios sighed. I have no clue. Commander Lapidos leaned forward a bit and took out some papers. I can't say that you guys have been slacking because work, as overall, is still being finished at a rate which is reasonable. But as to the types of work being paid attention to, you guys are leaving certain things out. He started skimming through the papers. For example, Archers requested for some help in coming up with the new shipyard's dock designs. They asked this around 3 months ago. They complained to me that none of you took upon the task. Also, here's another example. Old Man Cadmos, one of our great advisors and information leads on Constantinopolis, and to remind you guys, he's the representative of Principe town, and requested in fixing up his house's crumbling roof. He wants a stronger design for it since the previous one broke down in less than a year. Still more examples. The Karyes village elder wants a viable design for a new meeting hall for his people. He requested this task 5 months ago. Yet it says right here that none of you even took the time to visit him. I'll finish here. I've stated important ones, so your answers to them will be enough in helping us find out what we should do on our end to make things work out. Commander Lapido sighed and looked at the engineers one by one. Guys, I'm confused right now. You have a good work history of consistently adhering to all of the needs inside the fortress and of the people on all the islands. You even went to various other islands to do the tasks and generate money for the fortress. However, why did you leave out stuff like these? Shipyard? Important. Old Man Cadmos? Important. And Village Elder? Important. Why is it? Nobody spoke. So Commander Lapido shook his head. Okay, you give me no choice now. He looked at each and every one of them carefully, and then he nodded in realization of something. Alexios, Carpos, and Constance, please go out of this room and go on top of the stern castle and stay there until I get you. Commander Lapido said. The 3 engineers complied and they went out. Commander Lapidos made some soldiers to remain in front of the closed door to not let anyone inside. After that, he came back and sat across from Placidus. Placidus, now you're free to speak whatever's in your mind. I won't hold anything against you. I just want to know the truth. And I swear under oath that nobody will be punished. Commander Lapido said. Placidus slowly nodded. So, first, why don't you help out the archers? Commander Lapidos got ready to write. Placidus sighed. The archers. I find them to be quite awkward, and it's really hard to get along with those types of people. Days of life with them is torturous to state it nicely, and I just can't find myself working with them in the future. I mean, I would help them out in the fortress, but that's it. To travel out of the fortress and work together in that shipyard. Please don't push me on that. Commander Lapidus took some time to write and nodded. He then looked back at Placidus. So, that explains how you periodically venture out with Thomas' group to Hauki Island to help build the cones. It's because they're fun to get along, am I right? Placidus nodded. You're absolutely right. Okay then, why don't you help out Old Man Cadmus? Placidus shrugged. We found it a tedious task, so we drew a lot to see who would have to do it. And Carpus' name was drawn out. He never told us why he didn't do that. Commander Lapidus chuckled. Okay, I get you. But what about the village elder's task? Placidus suddenly seemed uneasy. It took some time for him to start saying. One day, Constance and I went to the village to meet with the village elder. He showed us the location of where that new hall should be built and urged us to come up with a building design for it. He already had the design for the exterior, but he wasn't sure what would be good for the interior. He told us some guidance about how the interior should be, and we were going to start it. However, we somehow decided to ask around other villagers to see what they wanted, and many people didn't even want the building to be set up. They told us that they already had it, but was working fine. It's just that the elder and a few other people disagreed with them. Therefore, Constance and I checked the old building and it needed some fixing here and there, so we fixed them up. But the village elder kicked us out, saying that we weren't obeying his demands. Placidus took a deep breath. We felt that the villagers need to come into agreement amongst themselves first before they reach out to us for the designs. Commander Lapidus slowly nodded. Placidus, this is a serious topic. Why didn't you tell us about it sooner? Placidus flinched. I honestly didn't think it was that important. I thought they would just get over with it. Commander Lapidus started chuckling uncomfortably. You really thought that they would get over it? Really? Come on, Placidus. You already know what kind of people you're dealing with when it comes to Principal and Tarius. Many are tenacious and outwardly stubborn regarding their own opinions. They won't let things go until fortress soldiers show up to mediate. He sighed. Remember this, you are not a soldier, Placidus. They don't fear you at all. And we have inadvertently let this issue linger for 5 straight months. That's not good, Placidus. Placidus tapped on the table. Well then, why don't you guys support us enough so that the civilians fear us too? Commander Lapidus paused to think. Lord Pericles doesn't want the civilians to see all of us as people to fear. Sure, they will naturally fear most soldiers, but at least for the staff members, let them be the ones whom the civilians could see as their equals and interact equally. So please be mindful about it and give the civilians their own breathing space. Placidus nodded. Alright, Commander. Okay then, you're free to go. Have Constance come in here next, Commander Lapidus said. Placidus walked out and later Constance came in. Commander Lapidus stated that he won't hold anything against Constance and no one will be punished. Then he got ready to write down what Constance will talk about. Okay, Constance, so why don't you help out the archers? Constance smirked. They're just very boring. I have enough cleaning the lavatory with them. Okay, then why don't you help out the old man Cadmus? Commander Lapidus said. One day, we drew a lot to see who should do it. Then Carpus' name got drawn. So you need to be asking him that question, Constance said. Alright, gotcha. Then why don't you help out the Carius village elder? Constance paused to think and leaned forward to Commander Lapidus. I'm pretty sure that Placidus told you about the whole story. Commander Lapidus chuckled. Yeah, but I'm trying to see if your stories are the same. It's not that I don't trust you, but just for the integrity keepsakes for other executives, especially Commander Lucas. Constance sighed and told him the story. It fit around the same with that of Placidus, it's just that Constance's version of it was much shorter, so Commander Lapidus let him go, asking for Carpus to come in next. No! They're getting on board! Just as the diplomats had disappeared into the stern castle, the enemies ran for the ship, trying to jump aboard before it sailed away. Some were successful while others fell into the river, and the soldiers who were on the cargo ship got busy fending them off. Commander Kairos stopped Thomas. Thomas, You keep your men together on the main deck, and I'll have my archers on the forecastle." Thomas nodded in agreement and immediately ran to help his men. Ephraim handed his siphon to Apotheos. "Hey, it's your time to shine. Do whatever you can to stop enemies from jumping on board." Apotheos took the siphon. "I got it! Believe me!" Ephraim took a deep breath and rested himself next to the siphon cart. The previous slaughterfest drained nearly all his stamina, much of it mental. So even though his body was ready to go fight again, his mind stopped him from moving forward. Also, nobody asked him why he wasn't fighting either. They knew that he had gone through very much throughout this raiding campaign. Therefore, he took a nice seat on the siphon cart and waited. The first diplomat made Lord Pericles sit down on the chair inside the stern castle. "Pericles, you have behaved quite rash out there." After closing the door, the second diplomat approached them fast. "Yeah, well, what would you have done if we weren't there for you?" The first diplomat stomped at the ground. "We've always told you to be careful and not to expose yourself out into fights so much. But you never listened. Now what? You almost died." Lord Pericles spread out his arms and smirked. "Well, but I didn't die." The second diplomat clenched his fist. "Stop being so cocky. If we were even a single breath late, then you surely would have. Honestly, why would you turn back and stop when you're retreating? Why would you even try to fight that giant Turk on one when you're already out of stamina?" First diplomat cleared his throat. "But first, why would you even stay out there fighting for so long? Why did you even wait for all the raided goods to be hauled? Why would you make the raiding last so long? That ambition of yours, it might have got you so far ahead in the past and even in this raiding campaign, but there may soon be horrible repercussions. You will never know when that luck of yours will run out, so start listening to our suggestions already." Lord Pericles became uneasy and scratched his head. "Hey guys, relax. I always have been listening to you. Zopyrus, I listened to you. That's why I didn't push so far into the city. I only went up to the enemy's defense building, not the granary. Then he couldn't go far." The first diplomat, Zopyrus, grunted. "That building was already too far into the city. The enemies had more than enough chances to flank you and surround you and the soldiers. You're in luck that they were too foolish and unprepared this time." Lord Pericles started smiling. "Come on, I still came back. I came back earlier than I wanted to." Zopyrus pointed at Lord Pericles. "Why are you smiling right now? We are having a serious discussion." The second diplomat poked at Zopyrus' side. "That's a defensive action for a person who had been cornered. I guess smiling kind of erodes such shame." Lord Pericles sighed. "Telamon, take it easy. We are all safe and sound on the ship." Telamon suddenly fired up in anger. "Really? Are you sure about that?" He pointed at the door. "Our men out there, they're fighting right now. They're fighting because we didn't retreat fast enough. Did you really think that those enemies would have taken the defeat as how it was? No, of course not." "I'm sorry, guys. I made you guys worry so much. I'll try to not let that happen again," Lord Pericles said. "Good, you better." Lord Pericles grunted and stood up. "Yeah, but I'm a lord who satisfies himself by killing enemies from time to time. I need to at least get out and watch over my men." "No, you stay right here. We'll do the fighting." Telamon tried to pull him back. Lord Pericles stood his ground. "Telamon, I need to go. The guys need me." "Please, stay back, will you?" Zopyrus said. Lord Pericles calmly looked at Zopyrus. "Zopyrus, I'm the Lord, and I need to go." After such a statement, both Zopyrus and Telamon had to let Lord Pericles go. However, they followed him. "We'll go with you then," Telamon said. "Yeah, like the old days," Zopyrus said. Lord Pericles smiled and patted their shoulders. "Indeed, that's the spirit, guys. Now let's see who kills the most." He then picked up his shield, pulled out his sword, and opened the door to go out and fight. "No, we're losing ground!" Thomas shouted, trying to hold his line. By then, the enemies had made a nice beachhead on the front side of the cargo ship's forecastle and were trying to take over the area where the ladder was on the other side. The archers were in trouble, but nobody had any means to push back the horde. Aposios came back to fill up the siphon. Hey, Ephraim, siphon isn't doing its job. Or the enemies are just better this time and they're blocking the flames with their shields. Ephraim gazed at the enemies. They seem like prepared folks right now. That's why you're having a hard time. In the last raid, they had to climb up the ropes and weren't able to defend properly. But now they're simply jumping on board, also in severe anger, so they're prepared and not scared. He sighed and slowly got up. I guess I must be getting up to help. Suddenly they heard a door open, and from it came out Lord Pericles and two diplomats. Lord Pericles quickly looked at Ephraim. Ephraim, we need your help. Ephraim didn't need further explaining. You got it. He then grabbed the siphon that Aposios had just filled up and looked at Aposios. Follow me. Aposios mindlessly followed Ephraim. Other soldiers were regaining inspiration as soon as they saw Lord Pericles walking towards them, so they started holding the defense stronger. Lord Pericles nodded upon seeing them do so. Then he proceeded to climb up the ladder of Forecastle. Lord Pericles looked back. Ephraim, you know the plan, right? Ephraim nodded, full of confidence. Surely. Therefore, Lord Pericles started climbing. He was followed by Zopyrus, then Telamon, then Ephraim, and finally Aposios. When they got up, the archers were brightened up, and Aposios saw Lucio among them shooting his gun. Lord Pericles didn't need to speak. He simply raised his hand for them to hold their fire, and they stopped. Then he got over to the edge and looked down. He looked around at his three soldiers. You know what to do. To the middle first. He took a deep breath and pulled down his visor, and others did the same. 1, 2, 3! The four men jumped down, right in the middle, and due to the natural reaction, the enemies backed off a bit, providing landing space for the four men. Now! Lord Pericles shouted at Ephraim. Ephraim immediately shot his siphon, in half circle first to avoid his three comrades at arms from fire. The enemies were surely shocked by that. Their fears gave in, and they backed off even more, pushing those behind closer to the edges of the ship, and none of them fell into the river. And no, some of them fell into the river. Aposios saw that Ephraim was moving faster than how he usually moved. He was clearing way for the Lord and the diplomats to have sufficient areas to swing their swords and daggers. The archers were looking down. Lucio was looking too, and everyone was fixated on the four men. Soon, Ephraim was firing at the front area while Lord Pericles was staying right beside him to give cover during the moments in which he had to stop to reload the siphon by drawing up the liquid from the small tank. Zopyrus was pushing back at the enemies on the right side, easily barring anyone else from jumping on the ship. Telamon was on the left side, killing off the remaining enemies while other soldiers on the main deck constantly pushed on to meet with them in front. Because of their actions, the numerous enemy archers on the docks and the shore unleashed a long barrage of arrows onto the ship, pounding on many soldiers and even killing some unarmored archers. Therefore, other soldiers gave their shields to those archers so that they would be able to protect themselves. Due to that, the enemies that were remaining on the ship started panicking. They were confused as to why their comrades would shoot arrows against them too, so many of them fell into the river to avoid possible death. So the left and right sides were mostly cleared, and the soldiers met up with Lord Pericles' group in the front part. Soon, it seemed to be that the enemies had run out of their arrows, so with the safety ensured, some soldiers fell back to set sail and went for the great oars to try to get the ship out of harm's way. Ephraim waved at Aposios and Lucio. Lucio! Lucio! Siphon! Lucio immediately jumped down from the forecastle. Coming! Ephraim's siphon had run out of its liquid to fire, so the panic was about to fall on Lord Pericles' soldiers. It was always so that whenever most of the soldiers were exhausted, the siphonators became their lifeline out of any trouble. So the failure of the siphonators' readiness during the times of necessity meant that the soldiers would soon lose hope. Lucio handed the siphon and Ephraim immediately shot at the bulk of enemies, clearing out a sufficient space for other soldiers to cut down the ropes that enemies had set up in the beginning. The strong breeze coming from the southeast helped a lot too in delivering stronger flame to the enemies. Ephraim kept on shooting it until the ropes were cut down. By then, the remaining enemies began to lose hope and they started slowly retreating. Then, after a while, the cargo ship safely sailed away from the village dock. Hey, Carpos, have you given any thought to my questions? Commander Lapido said. Carpos nodded. Yes, Commander. Okay then, feel free to talk about what's on your mind. I won't hold anything against you. Why didn't you help out the archers? Carpos sighed. I just don't feel like I fit in well with them. They're also not so hospitable with anyone who's not like them. Commander Lapidos raised his eyebrows. The answer wasn't like those of Placidus and Constance. What do you mean by that? Carpos shook his head. Slowly. I don't know. Let's just say that Lord Pericles sent you to help out some civilians in Principle. You expect at least some of them to be open to you and talk to you comfortably so that you feel included. I'll get none of that if I go help out archers. Even if I did try to start a conversation, and that's why I don't want to be there with them. Commander Kairos nodded. Okay, I got your answer. So, next question. Why didn't you help out Old Man Cadmus? He suddenly remembered Placidus and Constance's answer to how Carpus was chosen to do that job. Hold up, Carpus. I have to break it out to you that Placidus and Constance had told me that you guys drew up a lot and your name was drawn. Is this true? Carpus' expression became very sour. Yes, that is true. So then, why didn't you help him out? You do know that he's the town's representative, Commander Lapido said. Carpus took a deep breath. I had a fallout with him before. Whether it be his house or those of his relatives, he frequently asks for engineering work. So I actually was the one who designed the previous one which crumbled down. So how can I go back to him when he knows that I was the one who messed it up? Commander Lapido sighed. Hey Carpos, that's exactly why you must go back. A man needs to fix up the problem that he has made. Now, isn't that right? Carpus couldn't say anything. Okay then, we'll get this question on hold. I'll come back to it later after I've talked to Old Man Cadmus. Commander Lapidos cleared his throat. The next question. Why don't you help out the village elder? Carpus shrugged his shoulders. Placidus and Constance took upon that task. I have no idea as to what had happened. Okay, gotcha. You are free to go, and don't forget to get Alexios to come here, Commander Lapidos said. Carpus agreed and went out of the room. Soon after, Alexios came in. Alexios sat down on the chair. How's it going, Commander? With a bright smile, he looked at the commander. I'm doing fine, Alexios. I hope you're doing fine as well, Commander Lapidos chuckled. I'm doing great today, Commander. I wish I could operate a catapult with those guys at every raiding campaign from now on, Alexios said. Commander Lapidos nodded. Yes, I know, you sure will. However, we need to get on to the topic. You've put some thought into my questions, right? Of course, Alexios said. All right. Why don't you help out the archers? Commander Lapidos said. Alexios spread out his arms and chuckled. Isn't that obvious? If they want help from me, then they need to be more interesting to be with. Commander Lapidos had an uneasy smile. Are archers that bad to be around with? Alexios frowned. Well, yeah. Weren't you listening when Lord Pericles had an angry headquarters meeting that one day? I was listening, but they're not asking you to join their group forever. It's just working with them until the shipyard finishes, Commander Lapido said. Alexios tapped on the table. Please, Commander, I don't want to work with them. They're not like any other guys in the fortress. I just don't feel, it just doesn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? Commander Lapidos nodded. Yes, I do, but listen to me carefully. You're not the only one who thinks like that. Everyone in your team, Placidus, Carpos, and Constance, they are all reluctant to work with archers, and the four of you are the only engineers that we have in the fortress. So one of you must let it go, suck it up, and put up with them for some months. Alexios folded his arms. Not me, then. Commander Lapido sighed. Okay, then, I guess we'll get back to this question after I have talked with the archers. He flipped over some papers. Next question. Weren't you help out Old Man Cadmus? Alexios told him the same thing as what Placidus and Constance said. Final question. Weren't you help out the Carius village elder? Commander Lapido said. Alexios told him the same thing as what Carpus did. Therefore, Commander Lapidus let Alexios go. He then looked through the papers and didn't see any factual overlaps, so he felt content. However, he still sighed in frustration, remembering that putting his people to work was a hard thing indeed. In the stern castle of the first ship, Commander Takis was discussing with Commander Lucas regarding their own soldiers. Commander Takis nibbled on a smoked beef and held it in his hand. Hey Lucas, did we lose anyone in our ranks? Commander Lucas flipped through the papers. Fortunately, no. Commander Takis nodded. That's good. We don't have to worry about extra compensation then. Commander Lucas suddenly turned to look at Commander Takis. Yeah, but there are a lot of them who are injured. Anyways, how did it go out in your area? Not much, Commander Takis coughed a couple times. Only fight we had was against a couple dozen enemy spearmen, lightly armored. So they poured everything onto the western street, Commander Lucas sighed, trying to think. But they didn't even try to flank us. Do you know why? Beats me. Unpreparedness, I suppose, Commander Taki said. I don't know. They must have sent the enemies through the buildings to flank us right at the harbor before Pericles and your group came back. Commander Lucas wrote something. Come on, Takis. They're not stupid. Commander Takis shook his head. Yeah, but why are you delving yourself so much into this matter? We escaped. Everyone's fine, so we're good. No need to frustrate ourselves. Commander Lucas grunted. I'm just trying to get our minds and actions prepared for the future, because not all enemies will be so slow to respond like this one we have just encountered. Seriously, Takis, you're always so laid back and loose. Commander Takis flinched. Well then, you're always so tense and inflexible. Just chill, dude. Whatever. Anyways, where are our recorders and evaluators right now? Commander Takis chuckled at Commander Lucas laying down his tail so fast. Pericles took all of them. Commander Lucas sighed. So, after all, greedy Pericles took away all the significant people. Commander Takis chuckled. That's right, as always. Commander Lucas grimaced. But how about spies and engineers? Them too. Commander Takis scratched his head. Never mind, just the spies. The engineers? I believe they're getting grilled on by Lapidus right now. What do you mean? Lapidus once told me that he had to talk to them about the missing work, Commander Takis said. Commander Lucas frowned. What missing work? Commander Takis shrugged. I don't know. The only thing I remember is that they're not helping out the archers. Archers again? What do they even need help in? Commander Lucas said. Building the shipyard in the northern district. Commander Takis said. Commander Lucas sighed. Do we really need another shipyard? Commander Takis shrugged. Guess so. At least Pericles approved of it. Gosh, really? I believe they're working on that to slack off for the majority of its time. Their plan is working too, seeing how their work has been going on for many weeks already without any progress, Commander Lucas said. Commander Takis chuckled. Take it easy, Lucas. It's the manufacturing shipyard that they're trying to build without any help from the hired workers. Soon, that place will be rolling out many sturdy ships and fixing a lot of boats and ships of the fishermen and merchants. You need to have some patience on that, really. Commander Lucas clenches his fist. But why are they working on in that part? There are cliffs over there. The whole strip of peninsula is made of huge boulders covered with dirt, so there won't be any place to set up a manufacturing base. Commander Takis smiled uncomfortably. Yeah, but there's still the thin strip of coastal land without any boulder cliffs. That land is a bit steep, but we could shovel it down to make it less steep and use that dirt to add to the breakwater and then make the manufacturing base. I get your skepticism. You're a very careful guy among us. However, the shipyard that we currently have is already full. Various people, including fishermen and merchants, already have their claims on it and their ships fill up all the useful space. So there's been fights between them too. Commander Lucas grimaced. So, how is setting up the northern shipyard useful to us? Commander Taki spread out his arms. You need to see the far future, Lucas. Sure, it's costing us a lot right now, and the construction plan seems shaky at best. but we would need to expand our shipyard sometime in the future anyway if we're going to meet up the increasing population's needs. Also, having a manufacturing base right next to our main shipyard attracts more customers to our town's civilians because any ships that are damaged near our shores could come here to get fixed up, and as they do that, they'll surely be spending money here too. Okay, but shouldn't we have made the breakwater zones first before enlarging the shipyard? As you know, the fishermen have been complaining about difficulty in docking due to the waves. Commander Lucas said, "Yeah, we'll do that. That's a swift finish compared to the shipyard, so we didn't really bother to make it right away." However, Commander Taki suddenly flinched and looked at Commander Lucas in a funny way. "Hey, I believe that you know what is going on, so why are you asking me all these questions? You do know that you know more than me whenever it comes to administration work." Commander Lucas flinched himself, because it was always so that he knew more than the other executives. Before that moment, he was clueless about everything, so he was just curious to know more. He didn't know what to say, but Commander Takis was starting to get a wrong idea about his silence. Commander Takis cleared his throat. "Were you testing me? To see if I was participating well in the headquarters meetings?" Commander Lucas shook his head. "No, it's not that. It's really..." This time, in a worry, Commander Takis looked at Commander Lucas. "Has it been hard on you lately? Some family issues?" "Yeah, you've been looking very down for the past few weeks. What happened?" Commander Lucas looked at Commander Takis. That guy has been his closest friend among all the executives in the fortress, but he never shared anything personal with him all this long. He knew about what Taki struggled in the past, but he had never told anything about his struggles. I just... I wanted to... Commander Lucas really couldn't let it come out. Commander Takis gasped. "Oh, I think I know what you're going to say. You mentioned it back there when you were riding on the horse with me and Pericles." He paused to see Commander Lucas nodding quickly. "Don't worry. It seems you have someone in mind. I understand now. That's what you want, and I won't mention it again. So I'll continue in telling you about what has been going on so far." Commander Takis suddenly got up to get some wine and filled up a pitcher to get a steady flow of it as they sat around conversing. Then he came back and handed Commander Lucas a cup full of wine while he started drinking from his cup. Commander Takis cleared his throat. "Yeah, so all the work assignments that we've given to the guys are connected one way or another to each other. We were talking about the breakwater zones. In order to make the breakwater zones, we need sand, dirt, and lots of stones. Where are we going to get them? We have lots of sand and dirt on the beaches. Well, small stones are plentiful throughout the island, but we need to have big and sturdy rocks to set up the foundation of the breakwater. So those are going to come from the stone quarry at southwest of our island. Do you see the connection here?" Commander Lucas slowly nodded. "Yeah." Commander Takis chuckled. "Of course, but me and melee guys need to finish up the quarry if we're ever going to acquire those big rocks for the breakwater. And that's why we didn't start making that right now. So, do you finally understand?" Commander Lucas nodded. "Yeah, but wow, I never imagined that I would end up as a learner while you as a teacher in the administrative matters." Commander Takis continued telling more about other matters to Commander Lucas, and that's how they spent their time on the sea. Lord Pericles raised his sword to the sky. "Yeah, we have crushed them!" The soldiers shouted likewise, and they began moving back to their task, in sailing the ship, starting their own victory chants, group by group. Alright, so I'll end my first part here. The chant is going to be on the next part. So make sure get ready for it, and thank you for watching.